Hello everyone, this is Samantha Little, and this is my PowerPoint presentation over text exploration. It's over the test of written spelling, also known as the TWS-4. TWS-4 was written by Stephen Larson, Donald D. Hamill, Louise C. Motes. It's published by ProEd, and their address is 8700 Shawl Creek Boulevard, Austin, Texas, 78757-689, and their website is https://proeddinc.com. This test was published in 1999. So I couldn't find the cost of the TWS-4 because they have a newer version of it, which is the TWS-5. That test is $132, and I found that price on the publisher's website. The TWS-4 has three specific purposes. The first one is to identify students whose spelling ability is deficient enough to call for direct instruction designed to improve their spelling. Identification of learning disorders. Disorder of spelling are expected in cases of specific reading difficulties such as dyslexia. Spelling problems are also expected in individuals with specific written language disorders and in individuals with attention-based learning disorders. Number two is to document overall improvement in spelling when it occurs as a consequence of intervention. The TWS-4 is a legitimate way to measure improvement as long as the testing occurs at least 6 months apart. If used more than once a year, it's suggested to alternate forms. So the TWS-4 actually has an A and a B form. So what they're saying is if you do the test more often than once a year, once every 6 months, alternate the A form and the B form. Number three, to serve as a measure in research design to measure spelling achievement in individuals with different types of learning disabilities. Test results are not designed to be used as a basis of instructional planning. To develop an instructional program, a teacher or evaluator will need to conduct additional surveys of the exact spelling, correspondence, patterns, words, and rules that a student has or has not mastered. Citation reference testing and formal surveys and area analysis can supplement the TWS-4 results. Administration and scoring procedure. This is the basic testing procedure. The examiner can ensure a reliable administration of the test by adhering to the several simple rules. First, become thoroughly familiar with the contents of the examiner's manual. Practice administrating the test to an individual student no fewer than 3 times. These are things that you want to do before you feel comfortable giving a student this assessment or this test. Number 3, administer the test in an environment this is free from distraction, well ventilated, well lighted, quiet, and comfortable. Establish rapport with the examinee by exploring the purpose of the test and approaching the testing session as a pleasurable undertaking. Be alert to signs of fatigue in the examinee and cease testing if there are any signs of fatigue or loss of interest. These are additional steps to the previous slide of basic testing procedures. Number 6, consistently praise and encourage the examinee, but avoid prompting or otherwise deviating from test procedures. Remarks such as "you seem to like that" or "you did that quickly" are appropriate. However, comments that appear to reflect an accuracy of the examinee's response, such as "very good" or "that's right," should be avoided because some examinees quickly come to expect these comments and become disturbed when the examiner doesn't say them any longer. Allow about 15 minutes to administer the TWS-4. A slightly longer time period may be required when the test is administered to a group of students instead of just one individual. When administering the TWS-4 to an individual, the examiner should begin testing at an appropriate entry level and test until the ceiling is achieved or until the final item is administered. The ceiling is that point at which the examiner misses five consecutive words. So down below it says grade level and entry level. These are where you want to start the examiner. So if you're testing a student that say is in 4th grade, you would go to item number 10 and start there on either column A or B, whichever test you want to administer at the time. And if when you're examining them and they're writing out the words, once they miss 5 consecutive words, that's when you stop the test. So these are once a ceiling has been established, the examiner should go back and establish a basal if the examinee has not already answered 5 consecutive items correctly. That is, if the examinee did not correctly answer 5 items in a succession during the establishment of a ceiling, the examiner should return to the entry point and test downward until 5 items in a row are answered correctly or until item 1 has been administered. All items below the basal are scored correct. So what that means is if you have a 4th grader and you start him at item number 2, which is spelling word 20, if you give them 5 words and they don't spell them correctly, what you would do is you would work backwards. You would go to spelling word 19, and then you go 18, 17, 16, and there and back until they get 5 in a row correct.
So this is Keegan. Now that we're done completing the assessment, you go down and each word that was spelled right, you put a 1 next to it. Each word that was spelled wrong, you put a 0 next to it. Now you keep giving this test until they get 5 in a row wrong. So that's when you would stop giving the test. So I've already put all the 0s and the 1s, and I totaled it up, and the total for it was 16. So now we need to convert the raw score, converting raw score to standard score. So we had to figure out Keegan's, how old he is, his age. So we're given the test 2018, 11th month. He was born 2010 in the 5th month, so that would put him at 8 years, 6 months old. So what we do now is we go to 8 years, 6 months old, and we go down into the 16 over here. And so you would go across until we got 8 years, 6 months old. So his standard score would be 105. So we write the 105 right here. Now we need to figure out the percentile. So we would go to Appendix B, converting standard score to percentiles. All right, we know that his standard score was 105. So what you want to do is go to 105 on the standard score, and his percentile would be 63 percentile. So right, percentile 63 right here. Then we go back to Appendix C, converting raw scores to spelling age and grade equivalent. So right in the middle is raw score from A or B. We did form A. but either one is fine. You could do either form. So in this, you see here's form A with spelling words, and here's form B. So you can choose to do either one. So we did A, and we know that his raw score was 16. So we come down to 16, and if we go over to his spelling age, it says that his spelling age, he's spelling at an 8-year, 9-month, and his grade level will be grade 3.7. So that is how you would figure out the scoring for this assessment.
Once you have the standard score in place, you can see the placement of the examinee by going to the left column and finding their standard score. Keegan's was 105, so you would scroll down to 90 to 105 and go over to description, and he falls in the average range at 49.51%. So you can see that if somebody's standard score is higher than 130, then they're very superior, and only 2.34% fall in that range. And the very lowest is lower than 70, which is very poor, and 2.34% fall in that range as well. So Keegan fell right in that average area for a third grader. Scoring the TWS-4 is quite simple because the words written by the examinee are merely scored as correct or incorrect. Correct responses earn 1 point, while incorrect responses receive no credit. The number of correct items is summed up, and this is the value, is the raw score. And in my video that I showed you of Keegan, you could see that anyone that you place a 0 for the ones that are incorrect and a 1 for the words that they spelled correctly, and you pretty much just add them up, and whatever the total is, that's your raw score. Scoring the TWS-4, it is quite simple because the words written by the examinee are merely scored as correct or incorrect. Correct responses earn 1 point, while incorrect responses receive no credit. The number of correct items is summed up, and this is the value of the raw score. On my video with Keegan, you could see right on the left-hand side, there's a space there where you would put a 1 or a 0. Any place that the student spells the word correctly, they earn 1 point, and then you just simply add up the ones, and that's your raw score. I found this test very easy to understand. The manual gives you a step-by-step instruction on how to administer the test as well as how to score the test. The appendixes A through F are extremely helpful. You can, once you find that raw score, you pretty much just plug that in and follow the instructions of the appendix, and you can get all the information that you need from just that raw score. Normative procedures. The methods used to norm the TWS-4. They use the sample selection procedure, demographic characteristics of the sample, and types of normative statistics like standard score, percentile, spelling, ages, and grade equivalents. I'm going to go into each one of these a little bit more. Sample selections. The test was normed on a large scale of students in grades 1 through 12. The appropriate age range for this test are ages 6 through 18. The normative data for the TWS-4 are composed of 4,097 students whose scores were used to norm the TWS-2 in 1986, and 855 new cases tested in March and April of 1993. The total numbers of students in the norm sample is 4,952, and they reside in 23 states. The time lapse between the testing of the two groups were only 7 years apart. Demographic characteristics. Demographic is defined as the statistical data about the characteristics of a population, such as the age, gender, income of the people within the population. When the census assembles data about people's ages and gender, this is an example of assembling information about demographics. For each characteristic, except age, the sample percentage were compared with those reported in the Statistical Abstract of the United States Bureau of Census in 1997, for school-age population in 1997, and for those projected for the year 2000. Normative statistics. So there's a standard score. The TWS-4 standard score are derived scores based on the numerized distribution of the raw score shown in Appendix A. Percentiles are also generated because percentiles are easily understood. They are often useful in reporting scores to others. Appendix B can be used to convert standard scores into percentiles. Spelling ages and grade equivalents. Spelling ages and grade equivalents are also provided for the TWS-4 scores. To determine spelling ages, the average score of all students in each 6-month age intervals between ages 6 years, 6 months, and 18 and 6 months were computed and plotted on a graph that had a raw score on the x-axis and ages in the y-axis. This is how they figured out the grade equivalence in spelling ages. Test reliability and why it's important. The concept of reliability refers to the consistency with which any measuring instrument estimates various attributes of something. Reliability is a key concept in measurement theory because it relates to particular usefulness of all types of systems of measurements. Tests with poor reliability yield markedly different scores when given at times or when administered by different people. Reliability has considerable relevance when tests are used to identify problem learners or diagnose theory with specific difficulties. For a test like the coefficients were average. Validity. So I had a hard time finding a review on the TWS-4. This is one of the reviews that I did find. If you want to take a minute and read through it and see what it says, it doesn't really have a lot of information. It pretty much goes over the three purposes of the test. I did try to look up on the mental measurement yearbooks, but I was unable to do that because I didn't have a membership. But I did find this review. It's a little helpful, but not much to say about it.